So I used to run a medium-ish sized hotel, about 40 rooms, down in Florida. A couple of years ago, not that long ago. The hotel was a couple of old, neighboring beach apart motels, bought by a foreign investor and then extensively renovated into a single modern boutique hotel. The location was amazing for this type of business. Before the pandemic, it was indeed a prime piece of property. The property manager that ran it at the time had built the hotel up with the idea of a place people would be really happy to return to, especially considering that the person who had run the place at first, the ex-girlfriend of the owner, had chased all of the old motel guests off. Apparently, and I quote one of the former guests here,
"We don't want your kind here,"
she told people, meaning the older generation, mainly middle-class Americans from the Midwest, spending their family vacation down in Florida every year for decades. Also, backtracking a bit to a point rather important to the story. The owner is not a nice person, nor had he ever worked in or had run the hospitality business. His main line of business is retail, abroad. Very much so. And he is a self-absorbed, entitled narcissist with an attitude. He was constantly meddling. He made incredibly foolish decisions, or downright harmful decisions during the renovation, and then forcing the property manager to carry them out. She was smart and competent enough to usually find some sort of workaround, but sometimes he insisted further. Things were not smooth. So, fast forward to me starting to run the actual hotel part of the business, which at first the owner hadn't meddled in that much. Our main focus groups at the time had been the cruise ship crowd, regular vacation goers, the conferences nearby, and finally, the annual events. Music festivals, holidays, as well as, drumroll please, the International Boat Show. The last one being a week-long affair of yacht building companies selling their boats to rich folks. 10 minutes walk from our hotel. The place I managed was a bit too low-key for the rich crowd, but guess where all those yacht building companies wanted a room to place all their staff at? We had 40 of them, with multiple beds and full kitchens, and we had built the place up with regular guests in mind, including the festival goers and yachtsmen. Especially the yachtsmen, meaning discounts, free upgrades, personalized approach, regular touch-ups, even the occasional barbecue parties. I was on first-name basis with quite a few boat building managers, as well as some boat captains, because when a boat's sold, they often stay around, get repaired, and the crew has to stay somewhere, And our little place, it was known in the circles as a really good place for them. I had made it my goal to make it attractive for the target audience, and in some of them, everyone knew each other, and word got around pretty damn quick. Now, I am a firm believer that in the hospitality business, you need to run it with clients in mind and not profit. So we had an amazing year of building up connections and making the place really nice to a very few specific circles. And then the pandemic hit. The hotel was empty for almost half a year. Had to furlough most of our staff for a while. Eventually, the pandemic just sort of got forgotten about. Well, at least in Florida. Cruise ships hadn't come back, but the regular vacation goers had, and en masse. We got very busy very fast. However, the owner wasn't thrilled with me hiring a new front desk receptionist. Why bother if I myself could do this job as well, right? Make housekeepers. We had 2 of them for the entire place. Do laundry as well. Get the property manager to do accounting. Great idea. At the same time, the owner had bought a yacht, just because, and attempted to make our property manager run his boat as well. So after a few more months of struggle, she finally had enough and quit. Good for her. We're still friends, by the way, even today. The owner replaced the property manager with his daughter. Well, like father, like daughter, exactly the same type. However, in their country, manager is manager. They don't really differentiate between a property manager who does the building or the property side of things, and a business manager who manages the business side of things. She immediately decided that her job was to run the hotel, and my job was to do what I'm told. And the first thing they do, the father and the daughter, is look at the boat show just 1 month ahead, as well as the festive season a couple of months later. They had the brilliant idea of making more money. After all, why had we sold all the rooms so cheap? Triple the rates for the boat show. We could easily make twice as much, right? And why offer free parking when no one around does that? It's not like it's, I don't know, a selling point or something, right? So they tell me to change the room rates on existing reservations and start charging for parking on reservations that were made with free parking listed, and above all, charge more for the boat show on the rooms that have been sold a year ago, mostly face-to-face when people were checking out after the last show. And it was apparently up to me to call them and let them know that we'd raised the rates by 50%. Oh, and the parking for the show is now $100 per car per day. I was not happy with the idea, to say the least. For whatever reason, I had assumed that this is not how things are done in the US. Even down in Florida, despite the infamy of Florida Man. Nor is it something that I felt comfortable with. I just didn't feel comfortable calling people, most of whom I knew, to tell them this banger of an idea. So I fought against this decision as hard as I could. I came up with various reasons as to why we should not do it. I pointed out how we run the place, argued the point of the reputation. The owner hadn't listened, but said, I hear you, but trust my business acumen after all. I've made millions. The daughter had listened to me very carefully. Her reply, your direct supervisor has decided and given you an instruction. It's not your place to think and question things. Just call them and explain everything. That's your job. So, a bit of malicious compliance then. I called our guests, and not just the boat people. I called most regulars of ours too. Took a while. And I explained what was happening. I told them the truth, how things are run now, what new ideas there are, etc. I also told them that I was very much against these decisions personally, and that I probably won't be there for long. Most of them thanked me for the information and said they'll be in touch. A few local yachtsmen asked if they could come in person to discuss things. In the end, the boat people were forced to pay extra. It's pretty impossible to find a good property at any price range that close to the boat show itself. The local ones who came in and met with the owner and his daughter got a great deal. Free parking. After the price adjustment. I struggled to keep a professional face. However, when I met them on my own after their talk with the owner, or when I talked with the other regulars over the phone, most of them thanked me for my efforts and told me they will not be back. Neither would anyone that they know. Also, if I go to a new place, would I be so kind as to let them know so that they can go there too? Well, that very week, I gave the owner's daughter my notice. I left just before the show began, letting her be the one to deal with the absolute shitstorm that was coming, since she insisted on being the boss so much. From what I hear, she hadn't managed at all. Right now, the place is run by some shady management company that just do not care. And the daughter's supposedly running the front desk. No one's answering calls, checking emails. Reviews have plummeted. They haven't even renewed their licenses or paid Booking.com or Expedia, who are now threatening legal action. And apparently, get this one right, the owner and his daughter blame me and the property manager for everything, since it's our leaving that screwed them over. Yeah, whatever.